Okay, so recently we've gotten some good updates for Halo Infinite and Halo the Master Chief Collection, but in this video I want to focus on Halo Infinite. So in the most recent update for Halo Infinite, we got several different things added to the game. The biggest thing being the custom games browser makes it real easy to play custom games. Okay, so just forget what I said about the custom game browser making it real easy to play custom games. From my experience, it's been nothing but issues. Not letting me join servers, or the server just crashes, or it just infinitely loads and says I'm connecting, but I never connect. So yeah, it's awful. It's definitely easier to play custom games now than without the custom game browser, but that the current implementation of the custom game browser in Infinite has tons of issues. So by no means is it easy to play custom games through the custom game browser right now when it has this many issues. They added red reticle on PC, mouse and keyboard improvements, network and desync improvements. They added some armor coatings for free, unlocked some armor cores, and added in-game player reporting and in-game player reporting, as well as the custom game browser. Those weren't supposed to come to Halo Infinite until Season 3, which begins March 7th. So I did hop on Halo Infinite to check out this update, and I played a few games of the Pit playlist. That's another thing that was added with this update, a Forge remake of the Pit from Halo 3, and they gave the Pit its own playlist, which is good. Now, this Pit remake, it's seen some changes since the last time we saw it when they first unveiled it a while back. When we first saw this Pit remake, it was really purple, and a lot of people weren't huge on that aesthetic. I never hated the aesthetic. I never thought it was terrible or anything like that, but I just thought that the original Pit aesthetic from Halo 3 looked a lot better than what they did with it for Halo Infinite when they first showed it off. And I also felt that since Halo Infinite's Forge is so advanced, this would be a great opportunity to remake a map and get it as close as possible to the original, because Halo Infinite's Forge is so good. So I kind of felt like it was a missed opportunity there by going for this like completely different aesthetic. But anyways, the Pit that we got with this update, it has seen various changes to the aesthetic. There's less purple, there's more of like a teal color, some yellow accents, and I don't hate the way this map looks at all. Like, it looks fine. Like, you know, it's a decent looking Forge map. I'd still prefer, you know, the original Pit aesthetic. And speaking of the original Pit from Halo 3, somebody actually made a Pit remake in Halo Infinite's Forge, and it's the best Pit remake I've ever seen. At first glance, you might think this is Halo 3. Like, it looks really good. Easily the best Pit remake I've ever seen. And he was going for the original, the OG Pit aesthetic. You know, with the yellow and the green, and he even has like the brutes that pop up when you get close. It's really good. And that's what I was saying they should have done with the Pit that they have in matchmaking right now. I was saying that they should try to make it as close as possible to the original Pit. That would be really cool. This person did it, and this is the person that forged this Pit that I'm showing on screen right now, and again, they did a great job with it. So anyways, I did check out 343's version of the Pit by playing the playlist, and, you know, first off, it makes me wish we had like a classic playlist with, you know, classic maps, remade maps, or even just cool Forge maps in general. One of the biggest reasons I don't want to play Halo Infinite is, well, the desync issues, but also the maps. Like, I really hate the maps in Halo Infinite. And that's a similar issue with the new Modern Warfare 2. That's a reason that I don't want to play like the normal multiplayer in the new Modern Warfare 2. I cannot stand the maps, and I've said this in so many videos now, but maps are so important to me, man. Like that's a make it or break it for me if the maps suck. But anyways, it'd be great if Halo Infinite had a playlist that just featured Forge maps, whether that's remade maps or original Forge maps. Like, because again, I cannot stand the default Halo Infinite maps. And I'm confident at some point we will get that type of playlist, but it doesn't seem like that's coming anytime soon. But you know, right now we have a playlist that just features the map, the pit, and I guess that's better than nothing. Now, not only is there changes to the aesthetic of the pit in Halo Infinite, but there's also changes to the layout of the map. Like, there's some weird stuff going on over by Sword, like you can drop down or repulse up over there, so that's a little different. And there's no gate on like the tower side of the map, the snipe side of the map, so players can fall off the map there. You can throw weapons off the map, throw the oddball off the map, stuff like that. So there are changes to the map, and it does obviously changes how it plays. And I'm not really a fan of the changes they've made. There's, in the short period of time that I played, I experienced people like jumping off the map like with sniper, so that I couldn't grab it after I killed them. You know, so that's kind of annoying, and that's not something that used to happen in the Halo 3 pit. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the changes they made to the layout of the map. I would have preferred if it was a one-to-one remake of Halo 3 pit as much as possible. Also, the weapon layout in Halo Infinite's pit is not one-to-one with the weapon layout on Halo 3 pit. And I understand that for weapons like, you know, the Mauler in Halo 3, like you don't have a Mauler in Halo Infinite, so you got to replace it with something, right? But some of it, I mean, they mix things up a little too much here. I think it's like a cinder shot that spawns in green, and well, depending on the game type, sometimes it's a cinder shot that spawns in green, sometimes it's a rocket launcher. There's a drop wall that spawns long haul instead of rockets. You have a bulldog or a heat wave in Sword instead of Sword. Like, that is Sword Room. It's been called Sword Room for ever since Halo 3, and we don't even have a fucking sword in it. Like, what are we doing? So I'm not huge on how they changed weapons around in this. I mean, you have a sentinel beam in where the shotgun usually spawns. But anyways, I think that's enough discussion regarding the pit remake in Halo Infinite. Another thing I mentioned that they made improvements to, so they said, in this update was networking and desync. And from my experience in the maybe 12 games that I played, 15 games I played maybe, I don't remember, but in my experience, the desync wasn't that bad. I did experience a little bit of stuff, like a little bit of like stuttering around the map, but not anywhere near as much as I did when I last played. And the last time I played was May 4th. This was my first time playing Halo Infinite matchmaking since May 4th. Now, that doesn't mean all this time when I was complaining about desync that I was just talking out of my ass because I wasn't playing the game. No, I watched streams. Like, I watched other people experiencing the god-awful desync that was in this game. But from my experience playing this game post-update, the desync was not that bad. But again, I didn't play a ton of games, so that could change. Also, I don't know what other people are experiencing, so I don't really know how improved the desync actually is. But they said they made improvements to it, and from my experience so far, yeah, it wasn't as bad as what I experienced last time I played. Now, there was other things included with this update. I don't want to go through everything. I think I pretty much covered the main things that I wanted to talk about. But I mean, there are other things that I might talk about in a different video, like aim assist on mouse and keyboard. I do have some thoughts on that, and yes, I know that was it. I don't think that was intended, but it does seem like there is some type of aim assist on mouse and keyboard. At least that's what people are noticing. Anyways, that might be a different video. But what I want to talk about in this video, well, we're already into this video, but the main thing I wanted to discuss was, when will Halo Infinite be finished? Like, what is left to be done to consider this game finished? Because the game's been out a year now. Co-op campaign has been added. We got Forge now. We got a custom games browser. So what is left? When will I consider this game finished? So here's the thing. Halo Infinite is definitely still an unfinished game. It is not where a Halo game should be, especially a Halo game that had 6 years and then an additional year post-launch now, right? It's still not there. And they are making improvements to the game, right? They are adding content to the game. But because the game has been officially released, it has been for a year now, because of that, there's some things that probably will never get added that, that probably should have been in the game at launch. And like what I'm thinking of, like campaign stuff, for example, right? I'm pretty confident that there was a lot cut from the Halo Infinite campaign. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff 343 wanted to do with Infinite's campaign, but they ran out of time, even though they had the time. And they ran out of time, and they had to cut a lot of things, right? So, like, they may have originally intended for there to be more variety in the environments and variety in the different types of engagements and stuff like that, but you're probably not going to see them go back and like change level design, change environments and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So because that may have been the original plan, to have more variety in those different areas, but because they ran out of time, they cut that stuff, the game launched, and the campaign is what it is. So the Halo Infinite campaign may not have been launch ready, but because it launched, there's some things that are highly unlikely will ever be changed, you know what I mean? So that's more of a campaign thing, but I did want to mention that because we're talking about when the game will be finished. And like I mentioned, even 343 themselves, they could have thought the Halo Infinite campaign wasn't finished. But something like a campaign isn't really... You can only finish it so much post-launch, right? Like, they could add more stuff to the open world. They can do stuff like that. But the actual, like, core campaign, which many people felt lacked variety in the aesthetic, lacked variety in encounters, like that, you don't really see developers going back and then like changing level design and environments and stuff like that after it's already launched. So I did want to mention that. But anyways, with the multiplayer side of Halo Infinite, 343 has been improving it and adding the things that should have been here day one. And like I mentioned, we now have co-op campaign, we now have Forge, we have a custom game browser now, and they have made improvements to desync, which is what they said, and that's what I have experienced from the little time that I checked out this update. But what's left? What else needs to be done to Halo Infinite for it to be considered a finished game? Well, here's the big things for me. If desync still isn't fixed, if it is still like really bad, again, I've only played a little bit after this update. If it is still really bad, desync needs significant improvements. There needs to be significant improvements to performance. I'm now playing the game with a 3080 GPU, but back when I had a 3060 and an i9 processor, I was struggling to run the game on almost all low settings. Like, there was times where I was dipping below 60 frames in the campaign when I have a 3060 and an i9 and I'm playing on almost all low settings. Like, that's ridiculous. So there's definitely performance issues with this game, so those need to be improved. UI. The UI still needs to see some improvements. The UI still struggles to load. It still displays things incorrectly. Like the other day when I was playing, it was telling me like I was in a fire team of one, but my buddy was actually in the lobby with me. But it was saying one. Well, actually, in this spot, it showed 2. It said there was 2 players in the lobby, but here in Fireteam, it only shows 1. So, you know, that's just something I experienced the other day when I played. So yeah, the UI sometimes displays things incorrectly and still struggles to load. So there needs to be improvements there. Fix the remaining issues with custom games, like with settings not saving and stuff like that. That needs to be resolved if it hasn't already. Theater still needs some big improvements. That is still very broken. There's a lot of work to do there. And finally, and this is a big one, progression system. Although it's kind of too late. A progression system, like, that is something you really need there day one. Like, that's really important, a progression system. The fact that it's insane that we're a year out and we still don't have it, and it's not even on like the roadmap for season 3, which runs from March 7th to June something. Like, that's really bad. That's really bad. Like, out of all the things that Halo Infinite was missing at launch, progression system probably should have been prioritized as like the number one thing we got to do. We got to get this in the game as fast as possible. You know what I mean? Because I've explained this, like, all this time people are playing the game, it's not going towards their progression, right? Like, they could play the game for a year now or 2 years. Who knows when the career progression will be added. And when it does get added, they might just be a level 1 or a level recruit, whatever the first level is, right? After having played the game for years. And if the progression system is retroactive and it takes into account all your time played before it was added, well, then you just skip a ton of ranks depending on how much time you've played. You'll just skip a ton of ranks when the progression system gets added, so you don't get the satisfaction of progressing through each rank one by one. I mean, shit, it's possible some people might skip all the way to the final rank when it gets added, if it is retroactive and it takes into account all your time that you've played the game so far. So a progression system is really important, but it is kind of too late. Like, it's better late than never, but it's too late to have the impact that it could have had if it was there day one. So anyways, those are the big things I think this game still needs before you can consider it finished. I know I didn't mention Firefight, but I don't think Halo Infinite needs Firefight to be considered a finished game. I mean, when you really think about it, Halo Reach was the only mainline Halo game to launch with Firefight. And actually the only mainline Halo game to have Firefight, right? Like, I don't even consider Warzone Firefight in Halo 5 actual Firefight, right? That was just a playlist and it had an ending. It wasn't like a, survive until you die type of thing. Plus, it didn't have all the customization that Halo Reach Firefight had. So Halo Reach Firefight is a different breed. But yeah, Halo Reach is like the only Halo game, the only mainline Halo game to launch with Firefight. So it's kind of an anomaly, and that's why, I don't think Halo Infinite needs Firefight to be considered a finished game, but it would be great if it did have Firefight, especially in Halo Infinite, because I think Firefight could be a lot of fun in Halo Infinite. Like, I had fun, shooting enemies in the campaign when I played that. Like, I think it would be nice to have that in a Firefight mode. But I wonder if one of the reasons they don't want to do Firefight is because the campaign is $60 or you get it on Game Pass. The campaign is not free for Halo Infinite, but the multiplayer is free. And if there was Firefight, maybe that would probably be in the free multiplayer side of Halo. And if that's the case, then people would be able to fight the Banished for free. But without Firefight, if you want to fight Banished, you have to play the campaign, get it on Game Pass or spend $60, you know what I mean? So it might be something like that. Like, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we will get Firefight eventually. I mean, but that was just a thought of mine. yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this one. You know, Halo Infinite has improved since launch, which it absolutely should have. It definitely should have improved a lot more at a faster rate. But, you know, things are getting better for the game. Population doesn't seem like it's moved that much according to Steam. Again, we don't have the numbers for Xbox, but, you know, if Steam is any indication, then the population probably didn't move too much on Xbox either. And again, we do have a custom game browser now. And I anticipated that the population for Halo Infinite probably wouldn't move a whole lot, even with a custom game browser. And it doesn't look like it has. Some people thought that, if Forge had a custom game browser, then that's when everybody would come back to the game. But even with that, I didn't think it would, and yeah, it doesn't look like it did. When it comes to when we're talking about a real revival for Halo Infinite, like, it most likely needs something big. Like, whether you love it or hate it, it probably does need like a big new mode, something like a battle royale, and it has to be good. Yeah, it probably does need something like that at this point. And like I explained in a previous video, first impressions are very important to a lot of people. Like, some people, they'll play a game at launch. If it's not good, they forget about it and never come back. Right? Like, they're not keeping up with the updates. Even if they are aware of the updates, they don't care. Like, they moved on, they're playing something else now, and that's it. So yeah, first impressions are huge, and Halo Infinite had awful. Well, I guess you could say it did have good. I mean, it had good first impressions because people were just like blinded by hype or whatever. But the state of the game at launch was not good, and people quickly realized that. Even the people that were, you know, blinded by hype right when the game launched. But anyways, that's going to do it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.